This is how you tease this. You said Lincoln Riley and USC are trying to duck LSU.
They did. That's a report that they did, and it did make sense why they would want to. And I think Fox got involved, according to the report. And that's just modern day college football, right? The TV. We're too. And look, I like my job, but we're too adherent to the TV networks, and there's a lot of money to be made, and a lot of things are going out the window because of the TV networks, and that's all great, but it needs to be balanced. And Fox probably is not thrilled that USC's very first game of the first season there in the Big Ten is on ABC against LSU in Las Vegas. And everybody's going to be watching because they're both going to have a new quarterback replacing Caleb Williams, and then two Heisman Trophy winners, really, back-to-back years. So I understand what happened here. But it is interesting. I remember we played right after LaVar left Penn State. We played in the Kickoff Classic, one of these games where you get extra money and you go play one of these early games. And we played against Penn State. And it's a very weird thing to play against a really good kind of blue-blooded team in the first game. Notre Dame does it all the time, right?
Yeah,
and
I'm doing it this year.
It's a weird testing stick because I remember we went out and beat Penn State and thought, oh, my God, we just beat Penn State in the Meadowlands. And we had a bye the next week. And I remember getting drunk and sleeping in, and I wanted to get up early because Penn State was playing Toledo. And I was like, I can't wait to watch Penn State kick Toledo's ass. And I woke up late, and it was 21-0 Toledo. And I was like, my God, maybe we're not that good. It's an interesting gauge to start the season. But I can understand why SC tried to get out of it. Lincoln Riley didn't want to play in the SEC and left Oklahoma, for God's sakes. And it's a different AD at USC, a different head coach at USC from when they booked the game, and a different circumstance in college football. But it's a bad look for them.
And by the way, LaVar, from what I understand, too, maybe LSU came snooping around Lincoln Riley to go to LSU in the first place. Not sure if that has anything to do with it, but
they tried to hire him, yeah.
Yeah.
Listen, when you get into these types of scenarios, I think because of the way the playoff is set up now, don't you have to be extra cautious in how you're choosing your games? Do you want to go out and play a big-time game out the gate? I think entertainment-wise, I think it's really dope.
Well, that's what it's for, right?
Football.
The whole thing is for entertainment. Dope. And if you win, you got to, it's a high risk, high reward.
Yeah. But I don't know that it's worth, as the school, either way, LSU or USC, I don't know that it's worth the risk. Think about it. USC has to think about, you brought up Penn State. You have to think about what this season looks like for USC. Do you want to get a quick, put yourself in a situation where you have a quick loss, knowing what your schedule is, during the course of that year? It's going to be very different. It's very different than what you have had in the Pac-12.
Well, I don't like saying that because I see all these teams, especially the mid and lower tier teams.
Sure.
And to me, it's like, oh my God, the Big Ten. Oh God, there's a little much there.
It's coming for you. Hey, all I know is every time I've watched a Big Ten matchup with the old Pac-12 back in the day, that the Big Ten fared okay.
Well, look at what USC's thrown out on the table. They hired an air raid coach, and they had Sarkisian, and they had all these offensive guys, and Iowa put up 60 on him, for God's sakes. Absolutely right. You're right. But I do think I like the new athletic director at USC. Jen Cohen from Washington, I know about. I know what she does. And I admire her. I admire what she's done. And look, usually I'm very negative about SC. You guys know that. Mm-hmm. And I try to butter it up a little bit in the offseason because I realize that my bitterness doesn't really help anybody. And no one wants to hear me if I'm always negative.
Yeah.
But this offseason, I'm actually not trying that hard to butter it up. I feel good about the defensive hire she made, about what she forced Lincoln Riley to do, and how they're trying to revamp the identity of the team, at least trying, for the Big Ten. I think they thought that they were going to cruise to an NFL job, that whole staff. with Caleb Williams last year. It didn't happen, and now they've got to set their feet and set their jaw and strap their chin strap on and see what happens. And I'm anxious to see if they have the balls. I mean, they got Wisconsin, Michigan, Minnesota, Penn State, and they got to go to Maryland.
Get some.
Yeah, then Washington, then Nebraska, then UCLA, and then the Irish.
We could understate the Big Ten, but that's a tough ass.
It's a tough schedule.
That's a tough schedule, man.
Yeah. Here's one person who probably doesn't have any issue with this game, by the way. Me and my family.
Yeah, I thought you would go.
Going out to Las Vegas from Baton Rouge. No one on LSU sides has any issue.
Commodore Kelly. Oh,
yes.
Sir. Oh, sir. Yeah, I think they're excited about it. I mean, they have a thing. Look, I mean, LSU under Ed Ogeron became like a USC East. You know, he brought John Robinson, my old coach, out there to hang out and did wonderful things for him in his elderly age. And BKU, Kenichi Udeze, guys like that were all around USC. They went out there with Coach O, and he did and they had one of the great years in the history of college football together. So I think LSU's into it, and I think like Alabama, LSU wants to eat USC like a lamb chop to start the season off. And it could be a very rough year. In the Big Ten, in anybody's, that's just a rough schedule. You know, there's not a lot of, hey, we're playing Northwest.
Travel, too, right? Time zone changes, all that stuff. That's going to be a stressor they haven't really experienced on a consistent basis.
Yeah, the West Coast part, you know, I mean, every other year they go to Notre Dame, and that's about as far as we would go. I mean, when I played in 98, we played at Florida State, and we played out in New York. I talked to you guys about that.
You know, the travel to Pac-12, or what was the Pac-12, it wasn't like, you know, you're busing places like, you know, you do in the Midwest.
No, it's a 2.5-hour flight to Seattle.
It's longer than you think, right?
But, you know, it's an hour. It's nothing to Stanford and Cal. It's nothing to Arizona or Tucson. Once they added, you know, everybody talks about, the Pac-12. It's like, okay, Utah and Colorado were pretty late adds. You know, Colorado to me is still a Big 12 program in many ways. And Utah, well, they were stepping up, and they did a great job in the conference. But it wasn't like they were established. And my dad's generation felt the same way about the Arizonas, who were in the WAC and all that, and then got added and created the Pac-10 from 8. You know, everybody has revisionist history about this stuff. When I played at USC, the baseball team, there was no Oregon Pac-12 team in baseball. There was no Washington State. It was called the Six-Pack. There was only 6 teams in the Pac-12 to compete in baseball. So this stuff is always changing, but it feels like it's changing so rapidly now that scheduling has not caught up.
Yeah. Well said.
I mean, it's going to be a lot of drama that plays out, I'll tell you that. And scheduling, it's the more competitive it is, I think the better it is. It's just more volatile for coaches. It's more volatile for the responsibilities of these ADs, as you guys just mentioned. I think the stakes are really, really high. And
more money, more problems. It's never been a tougher job. The college football's never been harder.
Let me put it this way, by the way. If I was, you know, willing to place a wager on this, I'd probably lay the 6.5 points with LSU. Just going to throw that out there. So.
Hashtag me too. But who's playing quarterback?
Nussmeier.
Miller Moss is going to play for USC, I guess, or the kid who transferred from UNLV. I like him, Maihava. We'll see.
Is USC going to be good this year?
I don't know.
Are they supposed to be good?
I mean, it will be Garrett Nussmeier for LSU. I can tell you that.
I like their defensive hires. I like they went and got D'Antlin and Matt Entz, the old head coach at North Dakota State, to be the linebacker coach. Nobody cares about these little tiny nuances until midseason, and you say, wow, maybe USC's playing good defense. But I feel a lot better than USC's direction than when they had the air raid staff playing on defense. So we'll see.